What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do a full detailed installation on the MST cold air intake for the 3.0 B58 Toyota GR Supra. We're going to go over all the little ins and outs of exactly how to install this new performance intake for your Toyota Supra. That way you're going to know what you're going to expect on the fitment, the look, and basically how this is compatible with your car. So to begin installing your aftermarket intake, we got to get your stock stuff off. Now if your car is equipped with factory strut bars, you are going to want to remove these two bolts. You can use an 11mm on them. Once they're removed, you can take your strut bars off, of course, and now we have better access to get this off. So you're gonna have two small T20 bolts holding this temperature sensor into the intake. You're just gonna remove the two and pull this thing right out. So from there, right around here, you're gonna have a basic hose clamp. You're gonna use a flathead and remove this clamp and get it off of there. And then from here, all you really need to do is push the inlet pipe off of the airbox itself, just like that. And this airbox is gonna be sitting in the car with 3 rubber grommets. You just firmly lift it up and you will end up popping this right out and we can remove the entire airbox. And with the airbox out, what you're gonna do is go down the inlet pipe and you're gonna see that crankcase breather. Right there is a little plastic fitting. You're gonna pinch the corrugated edges, which is on this side, and it's on the opposite end as well. And once you pinch these two, you're gonna be able to pop that off of that fitting. It will take a little bit of effort. Basically, I find you just gotta pinch it like this, or use your middle finger and then use your other hand's middle finger on the opposite side. And you're gonna be able to pinch that and pop it off. Be careful, you don't wanna break it, of course. However, it's not all too difficult. But once that's off, the next thing is gonna be this metal clamp right here. This is a fitting that's gonna be on the bottom of that turbo. You can see the plastic grooves down in here on the turbo itself. You're gonna use a flathead in your hand and pull that right off of this tube. And once all that's off, you're gonna basically wiggle the whole pipe off and remove it. Now with all the MST components laid out, you're gonna see we have an aluminum intake pipe, an aluminum heat shield. If you option it with the turbo inlet pipe, this is what it's going to be. It is a high strength silicone piece, and you're gonna see the 2 different diameters, of course, and the breather hose fitting. We have a pretty massive reusable air filter. You're gonna see a clamp here, depending on which orientation you go with. It'll come standard with this aluminum lid, and then you can also option a clear lid as well, made out of plexiglass. If you option that, you're gonna get an extra piece of rubber, and then you have other clamps and 2 bolts. Now, the simple kit that you can order will not include this piece right here. You're actually gonna connect this to the factory inlet, which is right here. Now, the way you're gonna do this, there's gonna be this metal clamp, which is kind of hard to remove. It's got these weird little things on it. You kind of have to break this clamp off, and that will separate this pipe and this pipe. And with them removed, you can tell how this inlet pipe is just kind of a big baffle that makes it a little bit quieter. This, you are gonna use the small silicone tube and connect it to the new MST pipe. If you option this with the inlet pipe, you're not gonna worry about that at all, and you're not gonna worry about this. You probably will not get this piece as well. So from here, if you're not gonna do that route, you're just gonna use this one, and it will of course connect right to the MST pipe with the larger clamp as expected, and then the smaller clamp is going to go right here. So those are your configurations. Not too bad. The quieter setup, if you're gonna use this, will be a little bit quieter. If you want it a little bit louder, you're gonna wanna go for this turbo inlet pipe, which as of now, most people option it like this. So to go ahead and install it, we're gonna first start by at least putting this clamp on this hose. And with a clamp installed just like that, that's a pretty good orientation. We're gonna just take this inlet pipe and slide that onto the turbo itself. Won't be too hard. I'm just gonna line that up. And then to go ahead and get this crankcase breather hose on, this is the trickiest part. At least being this is made of rubber, it makes it a lot easier than the old one. You might have to flex it a little bit to help line everything up. And again, it's gonna be tricky. Just line it up with where the hose is gonna go. And you can kind of use your middle finger to help line it up onto it. And then just a little more firm pull, and that should be good. And from here, you have easy access to tighten up this clamp for the turbo inlet onto the turbo itself. So to move on to the intake pipe along with the heat shield, you can kind of do it different ways. Don't have to do it at the exact same time. Kind of have to finagle it in there a little bit, but we're gonna take the larger clamp, go ahead and just slide that onto the rubber inlet. And then this intake, the beveled edge is gonna be for the air filter. The smooth edge is gonna be down for this clamp. So we're just gonna go ahead and slide this down a little bit and then work on lining up how this heat shield is gonna go. So you're gonna need to now pop out this plastic tab, pop that out, and then take a 13 millimeter and we're gonna get this bolt off. And you're gonna slide the bracket under the washer and line up the rest of the heat shield with the car. And then from here, this is how you kind of need to figure out how to do this. So I think, it's been a minute since I did this one, but I think you can kind of slide this in like this, rotate it downwards into that intake pipe, and just make sure the sensor area can come out of this rubber grommet. We can slide this down into the turbo inlet itself and just kind of rotate it as you install it into the inlet pipe. It's gonna be a little tricky, and of course the heat shield's gonna wiggle a little bit as you do it. And worst case, just kind of pull up the silicone just a little bit to help get this pipe in there. And we can continue rotating that down into the inlet pipe, holding it from the bottom, and just kind of wiggling ourselves into the right position. So not too bad. Definitely gonna have to fight it just a little bit. And then from there, we can reline up the heat shield. And I think that is about installed. So you're gonna want this on the outside. This intake pipe is in here at least about 1 inch all the way around. So my clamp is gonna line up perfectly when I pull it up. Next up, you're gonna take the bolt, the 2 washers, and the nut that the kit is gonna come with. This bolt is gonna go right through here. So make sure all those rubber grommets that are gonna come off your air intake, the stock one, you're gonna reinstall them. So then take this, and from the underside, we can easily just start tightening this and start getting that secure. And then just use a flathead and a socket to tighten that a little bit harder. So here's where we're at so far. We got that bolt nice and tight. Heat shield lines up perfectly with the strut tower. And you can see how the pipe is fitting in here. We got a couple inches on the inside. The plug portion is just on the outside. I went ahead and tightened up that clamp. Now you may notice where that crankcase breather hose is, the silver grommet is kind of like at an angle coming out of that hole. There's still plenty of it on the inside, so don't worry about that too much. It is all nice and secured and it's gonna stay in place, so no worries there. And of course, I've already tightened the bolt holding that silicone intake turbo inlet to the turbo itself. So that's basically how it's going to fit. Once again, it is a tight squeeze. It's gonna take a little bit just to wiggle everything correctly. So just take your time with that. And then this little bracket under here is all nice, and we're just gonna tighten up that bolt. So from here, the air filter is very straightforward. Just pop on the metal clamp, and then we can line up the intake. You're gonna have to wiggle it in just a little bit since it's going to start hitting the fender liner on the inside. So just kind of wiggle it, get it in there just a little bit. And I think that's about good. Looks like this might just barely touch that fender liner, but again, it's just some plastic in there, so no big deal there. And then now we're gonna go ahead and install this sensor. There's really only one way to put it, just the same orientation as original. And it's gonna come with these little screws. We're just gonna go ahead and install them, and we'll install this sensor very easily. And then for the heat shield, I've already taken out all these bolts. So the black one, as expected, would just fit nicely. You're gonna wanna kind of slide it underneath this plastic piece, and everything will line up really nicely, as you can tell. Now, when you're installing these holes, of course, you're gonna have to press it a little bit to line it up. I would recommend starting with this one. So right there it would line up, these ones would line up. And then from there, once those are tight, just kind of pull it a little bit, manipulate it, and now the other 3 line up. So of course, there's gonna be a little bit of wiggle room just to get that in. But that's the factory one this is gonna come with. And then to install the plexiglass one, of course, it'll fit just the same. However, it's gonna come with this piece separate, so you can go ahead and get a good seal. So from here, you're just gonna line this up on the edge, and pretty easily, it'll just clip into place, and we can get this around the whole edge of here and get it ready to install. And with a little bit of glass cleaner just to clean off the plexiglass, we can work on installing it. Now, once again, it could even be beneficial to leave this piece out to actually get this a little higher. So if I just slide this underneath, it's gonna line up a little bit better. You could also trim some of this black, which would definitely be beneficial as well. However, looks like I do have it lined up nicely. And from here, we're just gonna one by one insert one of the screws with washers. And once again, you might need to pull it a little bit, try to push the aluminum outwards just to get everything centered perfectly. And then if you're tightening the last one, it looks like it'd be best to actually pull out this black rubber a little bit, just so it's not on the underside of the plexiglass where it smushes to that black piece. That way it'll be sitting much more firm and flat. So just, manipulate that rubber gasket a little bit. And then you don't need to go too crazy tightening this, but that is about installed. So there's the full detailed install for the MST intake on this B58 motor. Hardest part, if you do option it for that silicone turbo inlet pipe, lining that up with the breather hose is a little hard, it's a little finicky. It's kind of tight in there to get it connected. Once it is though, like I mentioned, the silver grommet might be at a little bit of an angle coming out of the silicone, but it's inside that section like this long, so I wouldn't worry about that at all. Other than that, getting the aluminum intake pipe through the heat shield into that pipe, it's also a little bit tricky just getting it there. Now, if you have a 2020 Supra, you're done, that's it. If you have a 2021, or if you do option your car and have some aftermarket strut bars, your factory ones are still gonna fit nicely. There's about a couple millimeters of clearance right here. So it is a tight fit, however, it does fit with your factory bars. Now, testing out some aftermarket brands, the Armstrong strut bars are also going to fit very well. They have a lot of clearance right here. So that's a great option to go for this MST intake. And then taking a look at the Rec Speed ones, looks like these ones are also gonna have nice clearance. So I would assume for the most part, any aftermarket strut bars are going to fit with this kit. However, of course, MST cannot guarantee it's gonna fit with every single brand. However, Rec Speed and Armor Speed and factory for sure definitely fit. And it'll definitely look cool with the clear. Of course, if you go with carbon fiber bars, it looks really good. And I like being able to see the filter. It's a cool touch. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video installing the MST intake on the B58 3-liter Toyota Supra. This is linked down below if you'd like to order one for your own Supra. I'd highly recommend it. I've installed this on 3 Supras so far, and it really is a pretty good option on a good budget. So that is it for the video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you all in the next video.